Welcome to the Warren Cycling Podcast. My name is Dean Warren. I'm in Frankfurt, Germany today.
And I'm Randy Warren, and I'm in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah, it's episode 349. Is that what we decided?
Yes.
349 on the Warren Cycling episode in March here, March 12th, 2024. And wow, just can't help to still be beaming and excited about the weekend's proceeding, or last week's even whole race, Paris-Nice, because we're both so excited. We got the podium pictures behind us on our wallpaper. Yeah, you've got the Matteo Jorgenson's arms coming up out of your ears, and that trophy. At first, I saw the trophy. I had to look at it a little bit. It doesn't look like something you could repurpose for any other use, like to have like a bowl or something that you could put stuff in, like on the table.
The trident at Trenton Radiatical. You can neighbors.
Yeah. So this one it looks like a sun on the inside, and maybe kind of waves
to the sun. So that makes sense.
Yeah. Race to the sun, but it looks like kind of waves almost going around the outside of it. So, but yeah, when I first saw it, it looked like something broken.
The sun only showed up for the last hour of the last day, so they did have sun, but they had to wait a long time for it.
Yeah, they left the Paris area under kind of cold conditions, but not too bad. The rain, I could probably affected quite a bit of the race in a way, because in the team time trial, the rain came later on, and certainly took Remco Evenepoel's team, Soudal Quick-Step. They had the fastest time split at the first check, right, ahead of the UAE, which won the team time trial. But then it started to rain, and they had to back it off, and so they didn't crack the top three. Or the top three, UAE, and then Jaco Alula and EF Education, if I remember right. Without looking back.
Back and see.
Yeah. Last.
See, they did well though. I think Quick-Step was fourth in it. They weren't. Let's see. Yeah, you're right. Yep, they're fourth. Yep, they're fourth.
Yeah.
So. And it's surprising EF is third, because EF has had a horrible last in the men's side. Apparently they swept the podium in the women's side recently.
And a smaller race, but
but on the men's side, they've been non-existent for the last 2 weeks.
No, and Nielsen Paulus, he DNF'd in Tirreno Adriatico last stage, and he had knee pain. They said he sent home with knee pain, so that doesn't sound good. He was on the first start list I saw for Milan-Sanremo coming up, but
there was breaking news on that one, because it was this morning. Half the teams were empty, and they just filled them in this morning. So
I saw some of the rosters there. So we'll talk about the Paris-Nice for a little bit, because how often do you get to talk about?
It was the exciting race, as opposed to Trenton Adriatico.
A big week-long important race where two Americans would appear on the podium. I mean, when's the last time two Americans have been on a podium? Like
in my mind, it almost degrades the event a little bit. I almost think like, wasn't that important of a race? People weren't taking it seriously, but they do. This is a huge race. Sean Kelly won it 7 times. This is a race that Roglic has won in the past, and it's like there's people are.
But also a race that Mark Solar has won.
Yeah, but he's had a good year then too. So
yeah,
but it's been 1 year Roglic was in the lead, and he crashed twice in the last stage. The last stage is exciting.
Roglic, when he won the last time, he had to get some help from Wout van Aert because he was struggling.
Wout saved the race for him pretty much too. But it's a race that normally the big riders show up for and do really well. And this year, big riders did show up for it, and
half of the big four. I mean,
they got.
If you look, you're looking at the big Tour de France showdown that we're going to talk about all season, with Jonas Vingegaard, Tadej Pogačar, Remco Evenepoel, and Primož Roglic, of course, those four. And you think, wow, Primož Roglic, he's seen now Jonas Vingegaard dominate 2 big stage races, just flying. Whoa. And then you've seen Remco Evenepoel do Portugal. He rode really well, although he got nipped at the line by Danny Martinez twice. So he was missing a little bit of that punch. But then you saw only one chance. We only see one chance to see what Tadej Pogačar could do, and that was just phenomenal, huge. So
excuse me.
All right, you okay?
Yep.
Need some water?
Maybe.
Yeah, get a glass of water. So yeah, wow, we've seen um, the four guys
Everybody
that
do
are
well except for Roglic. He hasn't shown anything yet.
except for Roga, but he seems pretty calm. He's the oldest of them all. I mean, he's starting to get maybe to an age where he's gonna have to maybe be a little more selective of how top form he's going to be, and also with coming in with a new team, he's still figuring things out. It was his first race too, so
Yeah, and
but traditionally
his racing age is young though. So even though his
younger.
physical age is old, he hasn't raced for as long as a lot of the people. So it's not like Remco came in as in the World Tour at age 18, 19. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I mean, if you're looking at the showdown for the Tour de France, I mean, right now I'd have to say Jonas Vingegaard. I mean, man, he seems to be just riding so at a high level, and
it's a long ways out, but
yeah,
you're right. Yeah. So
and the Tadej Pogacar, we can't really tell yet. So he's going to do all these one-day races. Yeah, not for sure. I mean, Milan-Sanremo won't be able to tell from that either. There's also like Paris-Nice. There weren't really long climbs like you see in the Tour. So not even, well, I guess Torino Antarctica didn't have the real long climbs either. Jonas was still able to have sensible leads. So yeah, if we're talking about two different things here in a way that we're talking about what does Paris-Nice and these early showings show for the big showdown, but also more importantly for us, it's a chance for Matteo Jorgenson, who came in flying form at the beginning of season already at the opening classics weekend, where he was on the attack and setting up his new Visma Lease bike team to win at the Omloop, the Newsblad, and then also doing well the next day at Cornbos-Kern. And then coming in to be a stage racer who gets a chance right away with this big budget team, where he thought, when he first went, he's going to have a difficult time maybe finding those opportunities with so many stars on the team. But wow, he took this one opportunity. Maybe he'll get more this year. And he just rode such a incredible week, very opportunistic and just really in great form too, to be able to jump and follow and make the attack. But it really came down to the move with Brandon McNulty and Matthias Gilmour in stage 5. Was that right?
Stage 6
or stage 6?
Yeah. I mean, it was that was the difference maker. But then for him, between him and McNulty, the next 2 days were also difference makers. McNulty, and we saw McNulty in the lead of it was the UAE tour. What tour was he?
He was leading the UAE tour just recently. And then
he
got sick.
Yeah, we think he was sick though for that one too. But he definitely, So in this one here, he took the lead, and then a pretty commanding lead too. I think it was 28 seconds at the time. He would have that would have been enough to hold on. But then, credit to him the next day, 23 seconds. It was next day he had lost time, but held on still by 4 seconds to the jersey. And then the last day just cracked, completely. Although I'd say he cracked completely, except for that he and Skills then got away at the end. So I missed that coverage because I'm watching it on Tiz Cycling. And so all the feeds cut out with 10K to go or so. And so both the feeds I had cut out. And so at that point, he was with Roglic even at that point, and then the finish was much more scattered. So it looked like it was going to be a big group together, Evenepoel and Jorgenson and Vlasov, and then Vlasov got dropped, and looked like then the next group was all going to be together. But then Skirmos and McNulty got away, and then Roglic actually lost quite a bit more time with that one too. So that last fine little climb must have shaken things up a lot for that chase group. But McNulty again still tried, and then that guy saved the podium for him. If he wouldn't have made that big effort there to chase in, and I watched a little of the highlights and it showed him chasing even solo, but certainly Skirmos was trying to help him out too there, because they both had a lot to gain there. But yeah, it was. So I wouldn't say McNulty completely cracked. He just didn't quite have at the end there too. But that was more than for Jorgensen, because you think Evenepoel certainly has the pedigree already to be able to keep attacking at the end.
He rides riders off his wheels.
Yeah,
he's ridden the best at Liège-Bastogne-Liège, and the best of the best there
at
San Sebastian. We just right, and even at the World Championships, he rode everyone off. So to see Jorgensen be able to match him and follow him,
and take advantage of his lapses too. So that I did read the article about him saying that that Evenepoel won't make those mistakes again, which I think is nice for him to say that. But there's oftentimes people do make mistakes. We see even the most experienced pros, your intuition doesn't always pay off because you've got teammates that are supposed to be working for you too, and you're supposed to be taking care of other things. You've got a lot of things going. It's not like you're racing all by yourself and just have to go 100% on intuition. So it helps usually to have the teammates there, but sometimes when you rely on them to do something and they can't or don't do it, then that also can mess you up too. So it's much more intricate, I think, than Evenepoel saying, I'm not going to make that mistake again, because it's not just him making a mistake, and Jorgenson, he was the aggressor. He was the one that attacked on stage 6, without his attack, that that wouldn't have happened at all. And he was the one that followed immediately. And the announcer, I think it was Sean Kelly, was actually on the one coverage I was watching. He was questioning Jorgenson going with Evenepoel every time, and he was saying McNulty was going his own pace and probably saving himself more, and Jorgenson might have been wearing himself out going with Evenepoel on all those attacks, and yet ended up that no, he wasn't wearing himself out at all, and he looked very comfortable even over the last stop, and certainly Evenepoel was going, like you said, trying to ride him off his wheel. He attacked several times, that didn't work, and I think he was putting down enough power, obviously, to get Blasov to not be able to hold on, who had won, the stage just 2 days before that, day before that. So
7,
yeah. So I think that Jorgenson, it was certainly not even, it wasn't, you couldn't say it was lucky or one move. It was just, like you said before, consistency throughout the whole week, starting with that team time trial, doing really well and picking up some bonus seconds here and there. And I think he ended up with 12 seconds total in bonus seconds. So, he was, he ended up with more than that, 28 seconds total in bonus seconds. And Evenepoel ended up with 32. And he won the points and he won the Mountains jersey too. Sure. So he had a good race for sure.
But the only person,
but the only person that had, more bonus seconds than Jorgenson was Evenepoel. So yeah, I think he rode a really complete race. Although he didn't win a stage though, which would have been nice. No. You always hate to win a stage race, especially one as prestigious as Paris-Nice, without winning a stage. But certainly the overall is more important than any one stage.
Right. Well, you have to wonder too. I mean, the weather, plays a factor in many races, a lot of different ways, like the time trial, which hurt Jorgenson because Visma Lease bike was one of those teams that were affected by the later start, but also stage 7 being shortened and not having as big a climb, as much climbing. Although it made shorter stage sometimes make harder stages because it goes more from the gun. But with the I don't think though a longer climb the way he was riding would have hurt him.
I don't
maybe
think so either.
Against Evenepoel. That Saturday is when I really started to believe that, man, I think Jorgenson's going to win because he's matching Evenepoel every time. And
people were saying even that the way he rode this race would normally make him, and most teams, being the last man in the last climbing domestique for the Tour.
Sure.
But not with Visma. At least, I mean, they got Sepp Kuss sitting back there waiting, saying, hey, this is one more guy that maybe we can have towing everybody on before I have to take over. So it was, I think, certainly for most people, is somewhat revolutionary when we've seen him develop for years, and we have an interview with him too. I was going to repost the interview.
I think it was back in 2021.
Yeah, with him and McNulty both too.
Right.
So yeah, he lost 50 seconds from UAE in the first stage. So there was 6, or in the team time trial stage. There were six places. So they did lose a bit, and then not as much though. It was almost the same on the same time as Soudal Quick-Step. So they're both 50 seconds.
Right, but it was one of the second stage, maybe one of the early stages where he did get the bonus sprint. Bonus seconds too early on, so he was always riding at the front, attentive and taking advantage of whatever opportunity he could. And
I'm sorry, I correct myself. They lost 38 seconds, not 50 seconds. 38 seconds, and Quick-Step lost 22 seconds. So
so he lost more than Evenepoel. Yeah, but it was.
You're right. They rode for him as the leader, and it makes a difference too. So
right, it was the key move though was still him and McNulty and Skilmos getting, because Evenepoel didn't respond and follow him right away. But
kind of looking at Roglic at that point too. I think that what I was reading was that they were thinking that it was up to Bora to make the chase, and Roglic obviously wasn't his best, for this race. So I mean, they had a horrible team time trial where they only had 3
Well,
guys at the top of the
he
second
dropped
climb.
all his guys, didn't he? Wasn't he pushing such a hard pace? He dropped his.
It
They
was
only had 3 to
questionable.
finish. Yeah.
Apparently the fastest guys, the strongest, fastest guys for the finishing stretch, they dropped them because they're not, they're a little bit bigger guys, and so they didn't do very well. And so, it's kind of up to the leader on the squad, which is Roglic, but also the team car too, to be telling them what they need to be doing. And neither one did a very good job with managing that that event. So they only had 3 guys, and they weren't the 2 guys that were with Roglic weren't the 2 most powerful guys on that last stretch that they dropped earlier. So they didn't ride that very well.
Maybe Roglic's still going to have some learning and adjusting to the new team bumps this whole year. But starting in July, when Red Bull gets more involved and they change and they get more money in, that he's going to be really building maybe perhaps more for even a better run next year. It could happen.
Hard to say. It's true though. One thing that Jorgenson was saying is that someone asked him what's different about Visma Lease bike than compared to Movistar.
Everything.
He said, yeah, and he didn't say everything was different, but I think he did say the word. But what he explained that more so later was that in everything there's a difference. So it's not like Movistar was unprofessional by any means. They're a high level team, had lots of success over many years, but in everything that a team does when they get ready for races, when they train for races, when they prepare for races, when they prepare for the season, there's something different that Visma Lease bike does that's more detailed, more precise, more intentional than Movistar. And so he wasn't. I think people take it as criticism. Movistar. It's a different environment. It's a different. So
it sounded like
some people and doesn't fit with other people too.
So it sounded like. Have you seen? Did you know Bob Roll and Christian Vandervelde? They're doing a Beyond the Podium podcast, like a video coverage. Yeah, kind of like Chris Horner analyzing the stages, and Bob Roll's got this big white beard now.
Does he?
And Christian Vandervelde's like going to, I think, one of the George's, like his centers where they have, I don't know, they've got a place anyway, looks like a store kind of place where he is, because he I guess his internet where he is isn't trustworthy. Anyway,
the Hincapie store maybe. It's got all the yellow jerseys on the wall and stuff too. It
wasn't showing that though. It looked like anyway. Christian Vandervelde, Bob Roll are analyzing the race and doing the Beyond the Podium coverage, talking about, and they really, were excited, of course, about seeing the Americans, Jorgenson and McNulty, battling out and finishing the way they did. But in their coverage somewhere, they said that Matteo Jorgenson took a pay cut to go to Visma Lease bike. They didn't get as which I was surprised. I thought, oh wow, with the big budget that they would probably be paying him more, but it's probably going to work out better in a way because Jorgenson had to pay out of his own pocket to get those extra touches that he wanted to have, altitude camp and do. So he was footing the bill for that. No, he wouldn't. So maybe it works out better. And they were saying, though, I hope he has some incentives in his contract where if he wins a big race, he's going to get a bonus. So, Matteo now has all the resources he needs to, achieve what he wants to achieve, I guess, in this Visma Lease bike outfit, and getting some opportunities and making the most of them. So.
Yeah, and certainly if he does well, it's going to be good for his career no matter what. So if he takes a pay cut this year, or it depends on what kind of contract he's on too. But certainly he'll get more opportunities. The better he does, the more economically better he'll do as well. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I'm still holding out for a big one-day win for him. Either I think it'll be tough in the Tour to get a stage win because of the aspirations for Jonas to win overall again. Look possible, but I think maybe one of these one-day classics, maybe not the Flanders or Roubaix, although it could happen, where he could be in a front group acting as a instigator like he did at Omloop to, people look at. But I don't know if people will look at other. I guess the favorites are going to look at each other to see who's going to chase, right?
I think as long as Wout's there, they're going to be focused on him. So Jorgensen, back in the days.
You mean other teams? If they see Jorgensen go up the road and Wout's there, they're going to be thinking, well,
yes.
he's riding.
I mean, back in the day, like Quick-Step would win with one of 7 guys at Perry Bay, for example. You know, I mean,
and nobody stood out maybe so much more then, did they?
Even sometimes then, even they did though too. You know, when I think they still had people.
When Tom Boonen was at his best, were there some other Quick-Step?
Matteo too, when he was at his best, they had like a bunch of guys. I mean, when Matteo was there for sure. Yeah, and even when he was there, I think they had a couple of guys that would. I mean, they're also good that even if they weren't stars, you know, they'd occasionally get wins at even those big races because there was just too many people to cover. You know, when you would have 3 or 4 guys in a 7-person break, which at the end of Perry Bay, you know, one of those guys is going to win, and it wouldn't always be the big star because everybody else be looking at him, and you can't cover everybody all the time. But my point, I guess, is that if Jorgenson is in a move and Matteo and Wout is out, if Wout's out, then we'll focus more on Jorgenson. But if Wout's there in the chase group, in the lead group with Matteo, is like, then it's going to be opportunities for him to do something that maybe people won't cover, that will get a chance. You know, I mean, we've seen Wout not take the win too in situations where his teammates have gotten in a better situation, and he's let him have it too. Oh, so we also seen him chase his teammates down, trying to get the win. You know, so a variety of situations.
Yeah, especially if it comes to a Flanders or a Roubaix that he's just so much wanting to get. Yeah. That's gonna be interesting. It'll be fun to watch. It's fun, you know. It's always more fun, I think. I mean, when I was following the race, I was flying, and I saw Jorgensen was going to win, and man, I was pretty happy. The rest of the flight, I was pretty excited. It's just uplifting, isn't it? You know, to really see one of these Americans do well in a big race like that. So yeah, I'm still riding a bit of that high, you know. And Brandon McNulty, they're giving him opportunities as well. I was a little disappointed in his teammates. He has strong teammates there that he didn't seem to get as much help. I mean, they lost Solar. He dropped out, and did they lose somebody else? But
Almeida still was there, and it's like
Almeida was there, but he was I mean, he didn't have anybody at any of the key moments. I mean, maybe it wouldn't have helped when McNulty lost a few years ago the Basque Country Tour. He had Tadej Pogačar to help him, and that so.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only do so much. You have to have the legs to be able to follow. But it
was fun to watch the race too, because I'll be in Nice for the end of the tour in July, and so it was fun to watch, you know, them racing around, and part of the course they're going to be doing the final time trial on too, and it just was exciting to have. Usually Paris-Nice look, oftentimes you have one stage maybe similar to a tour stage or something like that too, and this time, you know, racing in the finishing city, so that was extra fun for me.
Oh yeah, and I've ridden some of those roads that the Pay climb, where I think that's where they made the difference. Going up, Remco Evenepoel was attacking, Jorgensen following. I came down the descent that way. I climbed up a different way, but then I saw on one of my rides, a different ride that around the Col d'Ez area where I've ridden some of the same segments, and yeah, it's fun to see them racing around on roads that I'm a little familiar with, and it'll be fun to see when you get to go in July this year too.
I finished in Nice in the haute route. We finished in Nice, but our race finished though. The last time segment was just to the edge of Nice, and then we rode neutral into the promenade and that too. They didn't want to close down all the streets in the city and race on those. So. But yeah, it was. So I may have been on some of the roads they rode on. I don't remember. I had to match up the Strava file with what they were doing to see. But
I think for Matteo, who trains there too, it was ideal for him. He knew the route so well, the climb so well. So
and his descending was really good too, right? So I mean, they were saying that was one of the things that maybe set him apart, because he does train there so much. You know, he was able to drop Evenepoel, who was a decent descender too. You know, so he's had in Lombardia, that famous crash he has some issues with descending sometimes too, but still he was descending really well, and it was, you know, a display really good for his climbing and his descending too. He was just did everything right this time.
For sure, yeah. Well, I don't think we need to talk too much about Tirreno-Adriatico. I did want to mention, I didn't look so much because the sprinters were more divided between Tirreno-Adriatico and Paris-Nice. And there was a streak there where it was different sprinter was winning each day. I mean, it turned out Olaf Koy ended up getting 2 wins, and then
Right.
so did Milan, right?
Yeah, Milan.
Yeah.
He was incredible sprinting, and he's so powerful that he finished 2 of the sprints, I think, sitting down. He wasn't even standing up anymore. But he's got this great leg speed.
Does he have a track?
He must have a track background. I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
He's a big guy too, and he climbs incredibly well for being such a big guy. I think he's gonna be, he's coming into his own a little bit. So
yeah. Well, Mads Pedersen, it was hard to kind of gauge exactly how. I mean, he rode super strong, but it wasn't riding so much for him to win.
No, not as much.
So, but he was blowing apart the race, and yeah. So, but I think it was, I guess, the stage 5 then maybe that was pretty lumpy and probably could have been a breakaway. But Olaf Koy stayed. I mean, Pedersen was in there too, and Olaf Koy, I've put him on my. I was thinking already podium for Milan-Sanremo. I've got Koy. I've got Koy on my podium. I've got Koy, Pedersen, and Pogačar. Those 3.
Koy's sprinting really well, and he can climb decently well. But can he match some on the Poggio? I don't know. That'd be tough. I'm looking real quick at Milan too. So Milan has him as a sprinter,
Milan. Huh? Jonathan, right? Yeah.
Jonathan Milan, yep.
And now he's
also a climber.
Lido Trek?
Yeah, he's 23 years old.
Yeah.
23 years old.
Well, he won the points jersey at the Giro.
Yes.
And I was walking around in the city, and I was following his parents or somebody. They were carrying like all his flowers and this trophy or something. They were just walking down the street. I was like, oh, that's Milan's entourage. Yeah.
So he's been racing. I mean, so on the World Tour since 2021 with Behind Victorious for 3 years, and now he's signed for 3 years with Little Trek. So he's he's
an outside chance too, Milan-Sanremo.
Right. I mean,
he's Italian, so you always got to give a little plus for an Italian at Milan-Sanremo because it's still a race at
Oh, for sure. Inspired by the Tifosi, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, and he's a good enough climber. Because it really comes down to being fresh enough to be able to go hard enough and be positioned well enough on the Poggio, right? That's all it comes down to. So in the last couple of years, people have been going so hard.
2016 since the sprinters won Milan-Sanremo.
Yeah, it's been the people have been attacking so hard on the climb and or descent that the sprinters haven't been able to hang that last little bit. So that's
although Caleb Ewan was so close a couple of years ago, so close.
And Cavendish is not doing it this year because Astana's chasing points. They need points, and he's a former winner. He won actually in his first edition of it, and he closed. Heimlich Hausler jumped at the end, and he closed that gap to him at the end and got the sprint. But he said even it's a completely different race now, so he wasn't so disappointed that he wasn't able to do this one here. He said that, you know what, my focus a whole year is on the tour. That's what I'm going for. And everything. And then the team hired him again. He said there's no pressure on him to do well other races except that they do need points, so they're going to send him to races to get points. But he said that he wasn't so disappointed because he didn't envision a scenario this year which he could win. So a couple of years ago,
I don't envision that scenario either. Yeah.
No, a couple of years ago, he was probably at his best chance to win when he crashed coming into the Poggio. I forget it was. There was some street furniture and he hit it, or maybe it wasn't even the Poggio, maybe the Crispa before that. But he crashed, and that was probably his last best chance to win because he was still in the lead group then. He was still riding strongly, and then he crashed into the street furniture, and that probably won't have another chance because it's just gotten that much harder. I think at the finish to be able to.
Well, it's even really hard for Tadej Pogačar to win.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's like the best racer. It's just not a long enough, steep enough climb.
Right, it's explosiveness.
The Matteo van der Poels are the guys that are able to put out the more powerful watts for that kind of.
So when you look at though, then Milan is that kind of rider he's the kind of sprinter who maybe has a chance at this kind of thing. So So you're saying Koy?
Koy could be one.
Yeah, maybe Koy, maybe Milan. Yeah, I don't know.
Pedersen's putting out the.
Yes, he's
power. He's climbing too. That's why I've got. I couldn't put it in the order though. Koy, Pedersen, Pogacar. It could be in any order. I would actually.
Yeah.
Coy would probably be second if he doesn't win. I don't know. That's what I think. But it's a real. I think the Lantern Rouge podcast. They were trying to figure out before, like, is there any scenario for Tadej Pogacar to win?
Oh, for sure.
And it's difficult to figure out the scenario for him to win the way when you look at how Matteo Van Der Poel can power himself up the climb. So it's all going to be positioning, freshness, like you said. I would love to see Tadej Pogacar win it with a 50K breakaway. I mean, not really in a way, because those are like Strade Bianche, everybody but then in a way it's kind of boring too to see one guy off, but just so phenomenal to have a rider be like that at this day and age with so many great riders, But,
yeah, I think it wouldn't be anticlimactic though, because it'd be that.
If there was a good chase, yeah.
Yeah, there had to be a good chase, right? It would not be like Strade Bianche. Strade Bianche is such a hard race. Every time you hit one of those hills, and the descents even were tough because of the gravel and stuff too. And so he had a good lead and just kind of held on to it. And it was hard to organize a chase too, because of the terrain and stuff too. But in Milan-Sanremo, definitely you're going to have a huge
you'd have 150 people chasing after him.
And you can burn off people, like in Strade Bianche, your domestiques got burned out really early on. They're gone, before you're halfway through the race. But in Milan-Sanremo, either your domestiques have been in that early break, been chasing that early break, or they're sitting and resting, waiting to do the work at the end. And so you frequently get guys who are very fresh, who are very strong, can help you out towards the end to get you in position, your leaders in position, or to chase something down. So, yeah, 50K to go, break, I think I wouldn't say is impossible for sure, but it would be almost impossible to have it happen without it being a concerted chase to bring it back. So no, I guess he's going to really need, like Brandon McNulty is supposed to race it, to really stretch the peloton as much as they can. But even though those climbs aren't just really, the compresses they tried to stretch. Yeah. But it had positioning going. Sometimes I think he maybe is too eager. I mean, you just really have to time it when you're getting that extra. I mean, Van Der Poel was able to give that extra push, or on the descent. I mean, Mahorich just was able to. It's amazing though, these guys that get the gap, and there's enough time really to be caught to the finish that they're holding off. And well, there is, and it's played out unusually a couple times, so sometimes someone's worked when they probably shouldn't have, so who's the Trek guy who won recently? I'm sorry.
Jasper Stuyven.
Stuyven, yeah. So in Stuyven,
he was opportunistic. No,
right? He shouldn't have won it.
He jumped at the right time, and people looked.
But then who caught him and did work?
Who looks? Oh, it was Soren Krug Andersen.
Yes, Soren Krug Andersen caught him and should not have done work, but he did.
Yeah.
And Stuyven was just basically like, thanks.
That's right.
That was weird, because otherwise Stuyven should have got caught, but no, that was a weird situation. I mean, man, he owes him a lot for that. And Soren Krug's made a bunch of really
I haven't seen his name thought about him at all until now, leading up to Milan-Sanremo. So I don't know what kind of shape he's in, because he's been pretty instrumental and
several times.
Yeah. So
yeah. Yeah, he's always factors. He's such a strong rider that doesn't win a lot, So, been tough.
Well, yeah. Didn't he win some stages at the Tour? I think so. See. Yeah, take a look and see. But yeah,
he's and he's in Alpecin now too. That's right. I forgot.
For Van Der Poel.
So he's won 2 stages of the Tour de France.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And he won Paris Tours in 2018, and he won a stage
Milano-Tirreno tomorrow.
Yeah, a couple of midweek races.
Yeah, that gives us maybe still confirmation on who's riding well. I guess that doesn't really. And did they used to compare what was a better race to prepare for Milan-Sanremo, Paris-Nice, or Trento-Adriatico, and one produced more than the other? But then Matteo Van Der Poel didn't race either one this year, so. But there hasn't been a repeat winner since Eric Zabel, I think 2000, 2001.
And Trento-Adriatico used to be a flatter race too, and it's gotten a lot more mountainous now. So it used to be more sprinters would go to that one. and that was viewed as being the better race for prep, for Milan-Sanremo. But it's changed now too.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it's pretty exciting to be able to talk about a big American win and 2 Americans on the podium from Pyrenees to upcoming monument with Milan-Sanremo coming up this Saturday.
I just looked. They just added more people, more roster moves too on the pro cycling stats. So early this morning, almost half the teams were empty, and now all the teams have a full lineup in there. So, which doesn't mean it's gonna be the exact.
No, that's not their set.
Riders.
Yeah, like it still has Nielsen Paulus on the EF Educations.
Well, they might be hoping that his knee recovers some. I don't know. But he is on there, yeah. So I mean, because it is odd because right, you think, oh, a knee injury pulled off out of the race, but if he, if that was his most important race, he wouldn't have dropped out of it probably. So it was the Tour de France, he probably stayed in. But maybe they said, hey, you take an extra day off, maybe you can get ready for next weekend. I've got a little bit of an Achilles issue right now, and it's like it bothers me some. And so, you kind of baby it to see if it'll respond. And then one day it feels better, one day it's not so better too. So they may be having him at the ready, because he's definitely a person. I mean, Bettiol's there, who's had a decent spring. I mean, or winter, I guess still winter. He's riding well enough, and this is the kind of race that on his absolute best day he could win. But he'd have to have his absolute best day for sure. But he definitely could be in there. But I got to think that Paulus is a guy they're thinking can go with that last move maybe and give them a chance. But otherwise, they're probably not really in the mix. And EF is, like I said, they're hurting right now. They need something too. So
yeah, Richard Carapaz crashed at Tirreno Adriatico, but it sounds like from the news I saw, I think I saw it on Twitter, on X, that it was just abrasions. They should be okay. But then I was surprised at Wilco Kelderman. I didn't realize he crashed, broke his collarbone.
Broke his collarbone, yeah.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah. Which you normally
I never really saw him, Wilco, like pacing Jorgenson though. Did you?
No.
I mean, he was up there. He was one of the last guys with him, but I never saw him like really like, helping him.
He didn't seem like,
from what I saw. Yeah.
Right. He's probably helping him a ton, but at those last crucial moments, he wasn't still there. Which doesn't mean he wasn't doing his job and everything else too. But it doesn't mean he's not personally flying, or they sacrificed him to be able to not be in there. But I'm sure that Jorgenson would like to have had another teammate with him if they could have. But yeah, he didn't seem like he's flying.
I think it was, I don't remember which stage now, Chris Horner's Beyond the Coverage or whatever following. Brandon McNulty had Felix Großartner maybe helping him on one of the last days, and he was at the front, and then Brandon wanted to take off his rain jacket. And instead of just tossing it aside, he gave it to Großartner, and he kept trying to find where stuff it under his jacket, somewhere to put it. It was like wasting energy trying to ride it to do that. He said, just throw you're in such a big position of the race that you could afford to get rid of the jacket there without wasting your teammate. So
put under your jumper. Yeah, I just throw it under the back. That's the easiest thing to do. So either that or on the side of the road. But yeah.
Or I saw Jorgensen take his off and he just tossed it to his. He had just one on the side of the road that was giving out bottles. So he knew exactly, I guess, where he could get rid of it.
They said it was embarrassing them taking off their jacket. Apparently they had trouble getting their jacket off. And I don't know if it caused a crash or what.
David Gaudu. Gaudu caused a crash doing that. Yeah, he crashed. I think I mentioned it before. I'm getting the Decathlon AG2R, all the press releases, so I get all the emails. And so they mentioned they didn't. I think it was the editor's note put in it. It was Gaudu that crashed the riders for Decathlon, and they've got a new kit coming out. It's with some green on their sleeve. Huh. Their kits have improved 100% from the brown brown shorts to that. They're looking pretty. I'm like thinking, maybe I can get Thomas to give me maybe they don't, those blue ones that now all these nice kits they had at the start of the year they're going to get rid of.
Right, they have to have a lot of extra stuff laying around, right?
So Larry Warbass talking about. I'm trying to make a good segue here to the Milan-Sanremo that we're talking about, not go away too far. Is on the roster.
Yeah.
For he rode Tirreno Adriatico. So he's one of the Americans besides, like I mentioned, Nielsen Paulus could be not, depending on his knee. Yeah. Kevin Vermark, who's riding really well so far this year.
Yeah. He's very
for DSM. And Brandon McNulty, I mentioned before, maybe could be putting in some powerful work towards the end to set up Pogačar. He'll be there riding really good form. I mean, when you think about the Olympics a couple of years ago, wow, he was great shape then. Too bad he didn't medal, but Brandon McNulty was up there right there.
Yeah.
Right in the end.
I think Joey Rosskopf, isn't he? Didn't I see his name? Isn't that team on? I'll look and see now.
I'm not seeing that. But I think that's it for the Americans.
Okay, I'm trying to think. What did I see Joey in? I thought I saw him listed. I guess not.
Now the other non-World Tour teams are UnoX. So Alexander Kristoff, who he got second in one of the stages, he's still riding well. He's a former winner of Milan-Sanremo. VF Group, Bardiani, CFS, Faziani. They're one of the other non-World Tudor there with Matteo Trentin, and Tudor's.
Oh yeah, and they got to win
above their weight. Yeah. At the very nice.
Very nice, yeah. Yeah, you'd always. I'm sure.
And
I'm
then
sure
Team Pulte Cometa
right.
is the other. So I don't see Q now 36.
I figure I saw them then. I thought.
25.
But I think Tudor.
And Lotto Destiny was not a World Tour either, right? And Arnaud Dele's not going to race, so he would have been a powerful rider that could have been.
I think he is injured, isn't he, or something?
He's changing his program a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so teams that aren't World Tour teams for sure are going to be trying to get in that early break just to get some representation and
Oh yeah, Team Coratec, Vini Fetrini. That's the other. The other non-World Tour team. Yeah, that's
for sure. Bardiani, CSF, they get into. They sometimes love 3 or 4 guys in the early break, so which is great, because they're all Italians. They're Italian team. They really,
when has the break ever made it to the line of Milan-Sanremo?
Never.
The early break, yeah.
But though that's why Bardiani gets in every year, is because they literally will send. I think I've seen one time 4 guys in the break.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
we need an early break. We know you won't make it, but we need an early break. So
it's an understanding.
You get a lot of TV time.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, it's an understanding. That's why they're in there too. Yeah. So, and then Pulte too, Cometa, they're mostly Italians, so they're probably in that situation too. And then Tudor. So, so I wonder if it's I wonder if it's hard.
See cycling stage.
What's that? I was saying, what if Cancellara is a hard time because he knows how to win this race, so he was there at the finish. But he's like, listen, this is how you do this. He knows no one on the team can do it. So it's got to be.
He won by berating everybody off his wheel, but then he also dragged lost because Simon Gerrans sat on his wheel and then sprint around.
He still worked.
So cycling stage. Once in a while I get on their website because they break down the races and the stages and have the favorites and all of that. Their 5-star favorites are Matteo van der Poel, Tadej Pogačar, and then the 4 stars are Olaf Koy, Mads Pedersen, Matej Mohoric. So that covers my podium between the 4 and the 5 stars. And then it's got Jonathan Milan, Jasper Philipsen, Christophe Laporte, and then Filippo Ganna, Danny Van Poppel, Caleb Union, Tom Pidcock, and then Michael Matthews, Soren Kragh Anderson, Biniam Girmay, and Alberto Bettio as 1 stars. So those are all their top guys. So I think that covers pretty much the best chances, I guess.
And it could be a surprise. You never know. But more than likely, this is a race that one of the favorites. So I mean, like when Stuyven won, that was a little different. And when Mohoric won, it was a little bit of a surprise too. So, I think that.
I mean, Tom Pidcock riding really well, but he's up against them. I mean, trying to beat Pogačar at Stravianchi was a really tough task. Trying to beat or stay up with Vingegaard at Trento Adriatico, but he's. I mean, he can descend. So
and he can climb too. I mean, the mountain bike world champion, cyclocross world champion. He's got that punchy climb to him, and from a hard effort, too. So like at World Championships when he won that, it was really hard, and then he went hard. So kind of like Milan-Sanremo in some ways too. So he'd have to have a better position, and he's happy with his climbing. I know that he didn't. But was he 5th or 6th? I think Adriatico, but. He said he was happy with the climbing. It was one of the first times he's climbed with the leaders on that level of the stage race, in the end. So he, I think it's I saw a number of people say, wake me up at 30 minutes to go, but because it is more exciting there for sure.
For sure, yeah. I don't think there's any other way you're going to change it to.
Cycling fan, if you're watching before that too, you know they tell you the stories because the announcers have been interviewing people and watching all the social feeds and media feeds. They're getting all the press releases too, and they're knowing what's going on, and they're listening to the race radio, and so for me at least, it's interesting to hear them talk about what's going on in the race and what's happening in Celia too, and what's happened to so and so went back to here, or their positioning in the pack, and all that kind of stuff too. That's all meaningful to me, although it's not nearly as exciting. The exciting part's certainly at the end, but still, it's
a simmer build up to a crescendo and a big finish.
It's worth watching. Unfortunately, now without GCN, and I'll probably be doing a group ride that morning anyway. So I guess the way I would delay my ride if it was a bad weather day in the morning and decide to ride in the afternoon. But I don't know.
Long race.
I'm not sure you want to watch it on those. Tiz might have a little bit of coverage. Domestic.
Can't count on it for sure. But.
No, you can't. No. And then even the finishes, like the replays on YouTube, they'll show last 5K or 3K. Maybe this one here they might show the last up the climb and the finish, because that's what you want to see. Although I wanted to see like the 5K before the Poggio, and then
for the positioning and all that.
Right. Yeah. See how that is. Because sometimes that's the difference too, is that somebody who is a potential winner will have to make up too much ground at the beginning of the Poggio, and that'll kill them. Yeah. So if you're at the front of the Poggio, that's where Paulus was last year. I thought he was pretty well positioned.
Oh, he was a little bit too aggressive.
Yeah, I thought
he sometimes when he feels good, he is more aggressive than maybe he needs to be with the competition he's going against, where he needs to just kind of play off them a little more. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he, yeah.
But when you're feeling good, it's hard to I'm going, I'm doing
and
it.
he's seen people do it too. So like when Mohoric went, for example, too, that's like he's probably thinking, this can work, but only in exceptional situations.
Sure. All right. Well, the clock is ticking for me with daylight. We have not had daylight savings time here in Germany.
Oh,
so
do you eventually know or not?
Yeah, they changed at the last weekend of March, so a couple more weeks of standard time. They call them winter time and summertime in Europe. They don't say daylight savings time. They say wintertime, summertime. So I want to wrap up the birthdays list. I mean, we didn't give a shout out to EF Education just for briefly. Kristen Faulkner winning a couple stages and an overall win for EF Education. They've had 8 wins on the women's side. Lorena Webes won the 4th time in a row on a race this past Sunday. Oh, and Tyler Stites won a race in the island of Rhodes in Greece. Oh. And I think there's another race coming up. I think maybe that was a one day, and there's a stage race coming up. So Tyler Stites getting a win, in which I think Andrew Hood in his velo was recapping the races, and he mentioned it in his article about the Americans that are doing well, and saying Project Echelon's got Tyler Stites winning a race. And so I thought, hey, that's nice that he mentioned it, because we're usually ones that are looking at the obscure races to pull out the Americans in a race, which I was surprised I didn't see any racing in the Tour of Taiwan. No Americans there, which would have been a Danny Van Hout
you see Danny Van Hout got in trouble though too. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The Bob Roller, they were talking about that. Was it them or Chris Horner? Chris Horner was talking about, it's suspended for a year and a half. And he thought, for sending a mechanic to sign in for the team because they didn't have enough riders to race, and they didn't want to race. And it was like UCI, okay, it's bad. It's not good. But a year and a half is way too serious for him, a guy just doing it just so the team could race, because they don't have a big budget. So that was the context. I would agree with that, but without knowing any more details.
He could appeal it to the Court of Arbitration for Sport too. I'm not sure if he'll do that or not, but because he's freelancing now. He doesn't have his own team, so it's
the women's team that he's working with.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's hit the birthday list real quick. I want to finish getting kitted up to get out and ride. You're gonna get a nice day to ride. And
short ride today for me, but I'll get something. I'm preparing for camps. I've got my San Luis Obispo camp, and then my gravel camp, which I still have some spots for. So go to worldcycling.com if you're interested in to ride gravel with us in April, and then my VQ camp. So I'm preparing for all those camps as well. So I'll squeeze a little bit of riding in. But it's a big birthday list. He's top of the list,
Yeah.
is like
historic rider.
over
Look at all the
17,000
points.
ahead of.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. That's a lot of points too.
Yeah.
PCS career points, Pro Cycling Stats. I think I'm almost never on Twitter. I don't know, but actually there's still quite a bit on there. X, it's called X, of course. And but I think somewhere I saw there's because I like stats. I still look at numbers, different things. And I'm following one that has a lot of stuff on cycling stats, which is pretty good. I mean, besides Pro Cycling Stats, but it gives you a lot of just random like stuff. May I'll look it up and find it and mention it another time when I see
Will
more.
Anderson, though, he's 66 years old today, and he in his analysis of what kind of rider he is, his one-day races, GC, time trial, sprint are all almost maxed out.
Even and climbing is pretty high too. So
right, yeah, he was a do-it-all kind of guy. One of the first Australians to break out, into the European peloton, and
for sure, huge Australian breakthrough there.
Yeah, and then been in the yellow jersey in the Tour de France, won a couple stages of the Tour, won Tour de Suisse, won the Dauphine, won Romandie, won Paris Tours. Yeah, he's
Amstel Gold Race. He's won twice the Eschborn Frankfurt, which I'll be able to come to. Where I am now, the 1st of May. Yeah.
Stages of the Giro d'Italia, Tour de Suisse.
Tour de Suisse.
He's and he raced through '94. He raced, a good long career, and he was
finished with Motorola.
Yeah, he had a bad back towards the end of his career, and Eddie Merckx was making bikes for them then, and they made him a special bike with a really laid back seat post, really laid back to help his back out too. So, and I think the chainstays were swooped and stuff too to allow a lot more suspension kind of in the natural frame of the bike, so he could continue to race towards the end of his career. But apparently his back was really bothering him, and they made a bike to help him finish it out because he was so valuable still.
Well, second on the list, 73-year-old 3-time Tour de France stage winner, the Frenchman. I don't even know if I want to try to pronounce his name. His last name, Pierre Raymond.
Yeah.
Villemion.
You got to keep off the last 4 or 5 letters, and then Villemion.
Yeah, won stages back in the late 70s, early 80s.
It doesn't seem that long ago to me. So, yeah, excellent. Jeremy Hunt, he's 50.
Yeah,
he's 3rd place he's a Brit. Yeah. So.
Rode for Sky, the beginnings of Sky Pro Cycling. Wow, that's kind of like a changing of cycling in a way where a big budget incremental gains is kind of pushed the lead to what's shaped it now at the top.
The first big budget team probably, and then it kind of died out.
But they weren't doing marginal gain so much, so were they?
Just bulldoze everybody over. So
they just hired all the best riders. They had the team stacked full. Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, Sky started with a clear mission: have a British rider win the Tour de France. That was one of their mission, and they succeeded multiple times. Multiple riders.
Sure.
Nathan Haas, who's retired now. I didn't realize he retired. He's 35. What was his last year racing? 21. Wow, I'm cool for this. He's been retired for 2 years. Huh.
Right.
Yeah.
Australian. Florian Vermeersch, he's just 25. Happy birthday, Florian, riding for Lotto Destiny. He's high up there on the list.
Yeah.
Celebrating his 25th birthday here on March the 12th. We finish off with a couple birthday shout outs. Look for any Americans celebrating on the day.
Yeah, Andrew Miller. I think there's anybody on my own personal list.
There he is, Andrew Miller.
Alex
56.
Sparks. Yeah.
All right.
Alex Sparks is only 32.
Excellent. Well, happy birthday. Happy birthday and happy cycling. This is just getting into the best time of the year, right? Northern Classics.
Yeah, I've raced gravel and I've raced road already too. So racing domestically is going, and I've got camps coming up too. So I've raced other gravel coming up too. But yeah, it's stuff's happening all over the place now. Gravel started too in the international scene too. They've already had a few gravel races have started up too, and I think Mid South's coming up. So Southern Cross locally happened, and Mid South's coming up too.
Yeah, that's great, and makes me excited now to just get out and get my ride in. So
yep. All right.
I don't have any races on my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You too. Thanks, Randy. Bye now.
Bye now.